All right, it's a special rivalry-themed episode. This is the Unscripted Michigan State podcast on the Field of 68, but it's also a Go Blue with Stu episode with Stu Douglass on the Field of 68. We're going to do a little hybrid, 2 episodes in one, give you both the Michigan State and the Michigan perspective. I am Greg Waddell from Sleepers Media. With me, as always, my good friend Carter Elliott, who is just ecstatic coming off of Michigan State's performance this weekend. And then from the Wolverine side of things, we have former Wolverine Stu Douglass here with us too. Stu, let's start with you, man. How are you? You were just in Florida for the weekend. Did it treat you well?
It treated me pretty well. It wasn't as warm as I hoped, and otherwise, yeah, it was a good escape to get out of Indiana. I've never watched a Michigan game at a bar like that, and I got a little ruckusy with my brother and brother-in-law and my dad. Yeah, it was good. It was a good experience for me, even though it was a loss.
Sounded good. Some of us took losses, Greg, and on the last episode of the Unscripted, the victory shades, they took a break. But with the win against the rivalry, the victory shades are coming back. All right.
What are those? Where are those from?
They're just victory shades. I don't know. I feel like a winner in these. And because I am a winner, I shall win.
Because I'm not on this podcast a lot. Who's the jersey? Tell me it's Mateen Cleaves.
No, this is actually Cassius Winston.
Do you want to give your Mateen Cleaves thoughts though? I feel like you're going to take that as an insult that Stu thought that was
I don't really know if we want to get into that this episode, but I think Mateen Cleaves is one of the most overrated players of all time in college basketball.
God, I don't even know where to take that.
He's I don't know.
Mateen Cleaves and Ed Cota were like the point guards of the 90s for me, and now you're already trashing one of them. I don't even know where to go.
Good player. Just
look, Carter. 67% of the listeners are going to hate 67% of the people on the panel today. You're supposed to hold it down for Spartan Nation.
Honestly,
you're not supposed to antagonize them with anti-Mateen Cleaves.
I don't want to antagonize them. I'm just saying, if I'm picking point guards in Michigan State history, Mateen Cleaves is 3rd, maybe 4th.
I mean, I just saw the trim, the old school trim, and I just immediately think of Mateen right off the bat.
That's fair.
Yeah, and if you do notice this trim, I actually got pretty upset one Michigan State game, and this jersey almost was a casualty, but I saved it. It's okay though.
Oh God. All right. So if people follow Sleepers Media on social media, you could see Carter and I were at this game. We somehow got credentialed for this game, which I doubt we'll ever get credentialed again based on our body language and behavior at this game, because we did not behave like media. Carter was pretty celebratory off of big moments. There were quite a few big moments for Michigan State down the stretch, Cart. But this was also a back and forth game for the first half. Really kind of a 1-possession game for the first 18 minutes. Michigan State hit a big shot late in the first half, took a 4-point lead into the break. I want to take you, Carter Elliott, back to halftime of this game, because there was a period in time where it looked like Michigan was up for the challenge and was here and could have maybe pulled the upset. What were your thoughts at halftime of this game, and what were your feelings? Did you expect Michigan State to storm out and run them out of the gym in the second half like they did?
No, I honestly didn't. The first half for me was just the thing that stuck out between both teams was how Michigan's front court just dominated. I mean, Hunter Dickinson was a monster. Moussa Diabate, we couldn't do anything with him. We continued to do the Michigan State rotation thing where right when it hits 17 minutes and 27 seconds, no matter what is going on in the world and what is going on the bench, the stadium, it doesn't matter. Marcus Bingham has to take a seat because he's gassed, I guess. But the rotations were going the same way they usually go, and Hunter Dickinson and Moussa Diabate were able to absolutely dominate Julius Marble and the other bigs for Michigan State. And that was something that I was just not a fan of, obviously. And I thought it was something that was going to continue into the second half. But as we saw in the game, we were able to get some more stops on the defensive end, especially in the front court. And I feel like at halftime, the coaches talked and were like, okay, I think the Michigan front court's going to get theirs. We need to make it tough on them, but we can't let anybody else score, or we can't let basically the wings and the guards get their buckets. And I don't think they did in that second half. And that's kind of how the lead grew, and we were able to finish the game and win it. So I like the halftime adjustments. That was nice. But as always, I will say on every single episode of Unscripted, Izzo, the rotations, this is just, I don't know, something different maybe. I don't know.
So for all the shit that we've given Tom Izzo, rightfully so, I think this season and seasons past, I actually thought it was pretty well managed by him in this game. Like, you got the good Malik Hall first half and really the good Malik Hall game as a whole. But he also, like, he went away from Joey Hauser in spurts, and then he went back to Joey Hauser, and Joey Hauser rewarded him with some of his best individual basketball, going toe-to-toe with Hunter Dickinson down the stretch of that game. Max Christie continues to lead the team in minutes, which we've said is a key number for this team all season long, 35 minutes. That was rewarded with a bunch of buckets in the first half when Michigan State was really struggling to get anything going in the half court. Again, Bingham, like, you're worried about minutes, but he did pick up 4 fouls in this game. Hunter Dickinson was getting everybody into foul trouble. So I don't blame the Bingham minutes as much. I think he probably would have eclipsed 20 this game if there weren't fouls issues there.
Never know.
Yeah, you do never know. But I don't know. I left that being less critical of Tom Izzo than I have been in the past. But Stu, so on the Michigan side of this, right, I think it's fair, especially looking back on it now, it's fair to say Michigan was the underdog in this game, but also just by record and ranking and all of that, Michigan was an underdog in this game legitimately. You've been involved in this rivalry. You've had the big win, obviously, that everyone remembers, your massive shot at the Breslin Center. But I also feel like you've probably been on both sides of, like, going into a game as big underdogs, going into games where it's a pick 'em, like you really feel like you can get them. For this Michigan team and their psyche, bunch of guys who are new to this game, being down 4 at half, really of a back and forth first half. What's that mentality like? Like, did they go into halftime feeling like, oh man, like, how are we down 4 right now? We played pretty good. Or was there still like okay, this game is ours for the taking, and then they just kind of came out flat?
I think they believed it was theirs for the taking, but they didn't play well half. Like, they weren't sync. Caleb Houston wasn't in any sort of groove whatsoever, and they were relying on Hunter a bunch, and he wasn't, he wasn't even over 50% field goal first half. So, like, they were hammering their game plan, what they have been in the last 3 or 4 games with their win streak, which is post up, post up, post up. And it's been pretty good, but they haven't still figured out how to get shots out of it reliably. So I don't know if they were feeling good. I think they were still in it, obviously, because it's college basketball and you're going to play hard and it's only 4 points. But I still think they were kind of looking at each other like, we don't, not really 100% where we're getting shots from, where we're going to get our best shots from. And they knew they had a tall task because Michigan State was doing kind of exactly that, exposing the ball screen defense. So I don't think it was super great feeling going into half. Anything, they're like, okay, like, we're still in it here. We got a chance. But I mean, even in that first half, it was, again, like, just exposing some things that Michigan just was not doing well.
Yeah,
I was very interested to see what the ball defense was, because granted, yes, I do watch a lot. I watch a good amount of college basketball. I haven't watched as many Michigan games this year as I have in the past years, I don't think. But I was very surprised to see them hedging with Hunter, just because, he's obviously, we know Hunter's limitations defensively. He's not really a big that's made to get out and hedge and get back. He's not necessarily fleet of foot. So I thought that was a big advantage for Michigan State, because we were able to attack that ball screen. And credit to AJ Hoggard. I thought he did an amazing job in all the ball screen situations in this game, whether it was going and getting his own shot or also, dishing out. I think he had 10 assists total and only 1 turnover. And that's an amazing stat for any point guard, especially for Michigan State this year with all the turnover troubles we have.
Yeah. Man. So we talked pre-game, card, about what was going to be the ball screen coverage for Michigan. And for the last 2 seasons, they've played a lot of drop coverage. This seemed like a game that was perfectly set up for drop coverage, but they haven't played a ton of that, really any of that this season for big stretches in a game. Stu, what's your take on that? Like, it's easy to look back on it and be like, they should have done that. But, like, why do you think this team has gone away from that this season?
I mean, it seemed like they were miscommunicating all over the place, and it was loud as hell in the Breslin Center. So, like, there's a couple of times where it was a ball screen on the wing and the guard's expecting to ice it and down it towards the baseline, and boom, Musa's already high hedging, without the ball dribbler even doing anything. So like there's 3 mistakes going on in one play by both those guys. I saw it with Hunter a couple times as well, where he expected an ice and the guard let him go off the ball screen towards the middle. So then he went down the middle, downhill, and, Hunter couldn't even contest. So it was a lot of miscommunication, and it was probably just loud. I mean, you have to really scream away games of these types of calibers at this kind of volume. Like, you have to be known when that ball screen is coming, when that big guy takes its first step. And it's I'll tell you right now, it is stressful, especially being that guard where you're like, I'm pretty sure a ball screen is coming, but I don't know what I'm going to do. Is the big guy ready to hedge? Is the big guy telling me to ice it? So like they were just completely miscommunicating all over the place. And I don't know if that's because of lack of practice or why they kind of went to this aggressive style. Sometimes, with Beeline, we would be like, okay, with the 4-man, we're going to hedge hard like we do with Musa. And then with Hunter, it's going to be flat. But then again, with the guard doesn't know if it's Musa's man or Hunter's man. The list. So there's a lot of different factors going in there. And these are young guys out there. So these are things they had to get used to and get reps with. I would imagine the March 1st game, I think, is when it got rescheduled. I think they'll be better at it, or whatever they plan to be, and they'll keep progressing as they go on. But they've been dropping down, and it was interesting to see a change in the game plan. Hindsight's always 20/20, but it was interesting to say the least, especially if you want, Ty to shoot it or try and create offensively instead of get 10 assists. So it was a little strange.
Yeah, that I feel like that's the point that nails it on the head for me. When you're playing the point guards that we have, I think that playing drop coverage works, especially with the way Tyson Walker has been attacking off ball screens. He has yet to attack to really score in bunches this year off ball screens. And then also it just comes down to, also, like you said, hindsight's 20/20. But when you have guys that, like the point guard personnel that we have, but also, even though at first great of players as Caleb Houston and Musa Diabate are, and how much better they're going to get, I think moving forward, sometimes simplifying things is easier, because in the games I've watched this year, I feel like they have a lot of breakdowns defensively and basketball IQ wise. So to me, that's when Juwan should take a game plan that's more simple. So just, drop coverage on everybody, and let's just see where that goes. And if we have to make some in-game adjustments, maybe we do that. But it just seems that it would have made more sense to me if it was just a little more simple on the defensive end, and that would take away from the environment, mistakes, etc.
Yeah, it's really easy to be the fan or the quote unquote media perspective and point fingers and just be like, look, you played drop coverage for 2 seasons and you were a top 5 defense in the country both seasons. I mean, you also had Franz Wagner and Isaiah Livers as an upperclassman. Mm-hmm. Like, you had guys that you could trust defensively at a professional level playing college basketball. Now you've got new guys that who knows what they're capable of from a mentality standpoint, let alone a physical standpoint. So, but it is interesting. It's captivating watching this Michigan team, because I break down the individual guys on this team. Like, I think Devontae Jones can be a very disruptive defender. I also think he's out of position countless times a game. He picks the wrong spots to be over aggressive. And I don't know how you rein that in, but I know there is a formula somewhere here for this defense to be better than 78th in the country, which is where they are right now. So it'll be fascinating to watch that develop as the season goes on. But let's go back to this Michigan State team, because we'll pass the baton over to Stu and do more big picture Michigan stuff here. But big picture for this Michigan State team, they're sitting in a tie for first in the conference right now. There was a lot of sort of downplaying Michigan State over the last week and a half after the loss to Northwestern without Pete Nance, loss at Illinois without Kofi Coburn, without Andre Curbelo. Like, those are 2 games you'll point at come the end of the season if Michigan State's in a dogfight for this conference title, and be like, damn, had some breaks to play teams without their guys. But obviously they're going to get up for Michigan. Under Tom Izzo, Michigan State is always going to get up for Michigan. Stu, from the outsider perspective, do you think this Michigan State team is a serious contender to win this conference outright?
For sure. I mean, you got to hone in on some things, but I was talking with Ant Wright last, as they have top 10 cohesiveness in the country. And I think that's pretty true. And you got, was playing AJ Hoggard off the bench and doing what they do off the bench and ready to go. They're not complaining about anything. Stuck out to me with this Michigan State team is that they always know like where the shot is going to come from next, like which by that I mean anywhere, and they don't care. Like they're just like someone's going to make a play and they're going to be aggressive. If they're not, then the next person's going to be aggressive. And like Max Christie knows exactly what he wants to do, when he has the ball in his hands. Every guy is pretty decisive when they're on. Now I could turn around, they'll play the next game and they'll like look like high schoolers, and that's just college basketball. But they have the potential, like everything put together, like they're dangerous because so many different parts.
Yeah, they're deep. Like my takeaway after the game in one sentence was this was a great team against a great player. That's truly what it felt like. Like Michigan's recipe was Hunter. Yeah. Michigan State's recipe was find the open guy. Anybody can beat you. And we got 6 guys off our bench who can come in and we don't miss a beat. Cart, I know watching Tom Izzo in this game, 1 was fun for you, but 2, seeing him in the post-game press conference, like he was really, as he does, he was soaking it in a little bit. But the one question that seemed to aggravate him a little bit was when someone read him Hunter Dickinson's stat line. And it's very clear that was the game plan for Michigan State in this game. They were fine to let Hunter Dickinson eat, but they were not going to let other guys beat them. Did it surprise you that Tom Izzo went that route? Because I don't feel like we've ever really seen a Michigan State team be okay with that, especially in the trenches in the paint from a big man.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I don't know if the word is okay with it, but maybe like lesser of two evils. Like let's see if Hunter can beat us. I think based off we played Hunter. We played Michigan or played Hunter twice now in his career? Or was it the third time?
Three times.
So this was the third time. And I feel like based off the previous games, of course, there's 2 different teams, 2 different styles, all that. Hunter has yet to beat us. There are games where he can take over.
They got a split last year. It's 2-1 right now.
But I'm talking about Hunter by himself, just going out there and beating us. Like, even in you go back to the Michigan versus Indiana game, Hunter was dominating that game, but it wasn't just his scoring. He was drawing doubles, he was making passes, and guys were knocking down threes, and that's why Michigan looked so good. I think in this game, we were like, you know what, let's just let Hunter get his, but we're also not going to let him get 20 and 12 and then be able to get like 5, 6 assists on top of that, getting guys open shots, getting them going. Then they get in rhythm. Caleb Houston hits a couple, he knocks a couple more down, and it's a snowball effect. So I feel like, obviously hindsight, it looks great because it worked. Like if this didn't work out and Hunter came out and put up 30, 10, and 7, and we just single covered him the whole game, then everyone would be on Tom Izzo's ass. But it worked. So you got to give him credit.
I would say, I looked at the stats, 3 for 19 and 3. And the last few games, what's been going on is Caleb Houston's getting open jumpers. Other guys are getting open jumpers and they're feeling confident. And Caleb was just suffocated from the jump. And he's been the X factor for the last 3 games. I hate that term, but that's what it's been. And then he was non-existent, not aggressive, not himself. And boom, it worked. Now, I think it did help that I think Bingham played pretty good defense. In the second half, we were sitting there in the bar and Hunter, he's sitting on your right shoulder. You got to do something else. You got to put your shoulder, and he just keeps sitting on your right shoulder. Do something else. And Bingham just stuck there with it and held in one of his worst percentages for that many shots I think I've seen since Hunter at Michigan.
I know people really joke about it, but it is painfully obvious when he's in the post that he does not want to go to his right hand. He acts like he will die if he touches it with his right hand. Guys play him so.
He had one.
That's the thing. He hits it. So I'm like, why not try it again? He just
he hit one, this was odd. He hit one. He was on the left or the right block, and he turned towards the baseline and hit it with his right hand. It was the hardest shot because you got no depth. Then he had one from the middle that he airballed.
It's just a tough right hand for Hunt.
Yeah, it's it feels like Hunter goes to that shot almost specifically to showcase that he has it, rather than for it to be the best move at the time. All right, Carter. Max Christie, as you call him
Cormac.
affectionately, Cormac. You and I have had a ton of back and forth in the last 2 weeks. I insinuated that Cormac was not a big game player, which may be the worst take I have ever said on camera in my life. But there were about 10 games of sample size to back that up, where he has been like 1 for 8 in every game against a top 50 team. And then he's like 6 for 8 against any cupcake they've played all season. He played well in the Wisconsin game on the road. That killed that agenda. And then I was there to witness it in person, Cart. He basically drove daggers through both me and Caleb Houston's heart for 40 minutes in East Lansing. Do you want to take your victory lap right now? Now would be your chance to do so.
Yeah, and it's not more so a victory lap towards you. There's a couple people out there who have been giving me shit because I'm calling him Cormac, which is his birth name, and I've been telling people that there's levels to this. Okay, like some people, some 5-star freshmen, they get buckets for teams that are ranked in the top 25. Some freshmen do it for teams who are fighting to get into the top 25. Some freshmen are going to do it for NIT teams. Some freshmen are going to do it for NCAA tournament teams. It's just levels. At this point, we just have to give the crown to Cormac. He is the best freshman whose name starts with a C in the state of Michigan. It is what it is. Caleb Houston can be second. It's fine. Second's not bad, just not number one. And the first half was just evident of it, because not only was it against our rival, it was at a time where we needed some scoring because we weren't getting scoring from anybody. And it could have got out of hand quickly in that first half if we didn't get those Cormac buckets. So credit to him. Someone had to have a, quote unquote legacy game or a legacy moment, and Cormac had his.
Yeah, we talked about it. We were saying this is going to be a legacy game for someone. If anyone, it's probably Max Christie who gets the nod for that. Like you said,
AJ Hogarth might have had a semi-legacy game.
Could accept Hogarth, could accept Joey Hauser too. Like you could accept anybody from Michigan State. That's what makes this Michigan State team special. But my takeaway was like watching that first half, it really felt like Michigan was sort of having their way with Michigan State, even though they never really opened up a lead of any sort. But like they were getting the looks they wanted. Michigan State was struggling in the half court, at least early. And Max Christie was single-handedly shooting them to a dead heat at that point. And it was very difficult for me as someone who has vocally opposed Max Christie in defense of Caleb Houston to watch that happen. Caleb was not ready for this game is what it looked like to me. I know he kind of got some garbage time plays. He had the and one late. He was kind of flexing on some dudes. There looked like there was a little bit of back and forth with Max Christie, also with Moussa Diabate, who just ate that layup attempt late in the game as well. But
down 15, dog.
Max is a gamer though. That's the thing. Like he looks like he's very unassuming, pretty quiet, but like he amped this shit up for the rivalry game a little bit in a way that I didn't expect him to in his debut. Stu, what Max Christie's an out-of-state kid, not a Michigan guy. Same with you. What's the first rivalry game like as a freshman in that environment?
It kind of depends. For me, I was more worried about IU and Purdue. I was more excited to play IU and Purdue. And like that first game, it's loud and everyone's hyped and everyone wants to talk to you about it. And I'm like, the next game for me. And then when people start talking shit to you after that game, you're like, okay, this is only going to get worse and worse and worse. And it'll go up and up and up. And so now like Max had this really good game. People are going to be hyping him up on campus, off campus. Like now he's in it. Like he was ready for it. I think basically from a standpoint where if I were him and I were Caleb Houston, like that would be my mindset. Like I'm going out to outperform the other guy there while also winning. But yeah, that first one, you're like stepping into it. Like it's fresh water. You have no idea what you're getting into. And yeah, he came out just ready though. So it was impressive. Like he was just very comfortable. And like, I don't know, he's been having some of these 1 for 8 performances, but has he been this comfortable all year?
No, not at all. I mean, even in his good games, no.
He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. He was patient. He was ready to hit shots when the ball came to him, and he didn't force anything. I was like, what's going on here? He looked like I mean, maybe him and Hunter were battling for who looked like the best pro out there.
Yeah, it was impressive too, because there was a couple games this year that Greg pointed out where it wasn't necessarily to start the game, but like in tight games down the stretch, he was kind of pissing down his leg a little bit.
Kinda.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean,
we
was
won
two
some of the
for two.
games.
No, he was 2 for 2 in crunch time moments where one possession game, balls in his hands. And I mean, he didn't even initiate the action that he was supposed to. Like he passed that shit away after just kind of rocking it for 5 seconds, and it's AJ Hoggard making a play.
Now, so it's different. It is different. Like beginning of a game is way different than, end of a game. That differentiates a lot of guys. Like Trey Burke was just like a different animal. Like that's him and like Cassius. Like those guys just control everything. So it remains to be seen if he can do that. But I didn't realize it would be quite like that, or like it was that much potential, especially being so young.
Your 2 Cormac will get a killer in the last 2 minutes.
Hey, if he plays like he did in East Lansing on Saturday, every single game, you might not get a year 2 Cormac, but we'll see. Bodes well for the ceiling of this Michigan State team, though. Preseason, it was like you need Max Christie to be the alpha from a scoring perspective, and he was in arguably their biggest game of the season thus far. So good for him. Congrats to Michigan State. Carter, any final words on the Michigan State portion of this before we turn to more big picture Michigan stuff?
I'll just say good win. It was a game I expected to win just because we were at home, and I don't necessarily think that Michigan was playing their best basketball. I mean, they had a good win at Assembly Hall, but I think they struggled mightily with Northwestern, even though they did win that game. I thought Northwestern had a lot of chances to win that game. So it is a game I'm excited and happy we won. I will say that I think people should maybe kick it down just a little bit. Like Michigan, it's our rival and we're supposed to beat them. We're playing at home, but we didn't beat, no disrespect to Michigan, but maybe a little disrespect. Like they're headed for the NIT right now. So we beat a team that's not good.
You're playing that card. Wow. I mean, the NIT chance crushed me a little bit in person.
I wish I could get that on video because the look in your eyes, I swore I saw a tear come out the hurt when the NIT chant started ringing out.
It felt like my soul just died. Like every other chant up till that point was funny, like just like football, all that. And then they hit me with the NIT and I'm just, oh man.
My sophomore year, we were so bad. Like we didn't even want to go to the NIT. Like that was like a possibility. And we're like, please no. Like, Coach, don't accept an invite. We just want to go home.
Let's just chalk this one up.
Yeah, done.
No. Cart, we did pregame both bet on this game, my friend. You came out the victor. You had Michigan State -3, I believe. I had Michigan +3 on the money line as well. But if I were to want to bet on Michigan State again later this week, where would I go?
Yeah, we already know we're going. We're going to our great friends over at BetRivers. I mean, they got you with the bonuses, the boosts, the match, the free bets, everything you need. Always available. They have great future lines as well as we're getting closer to March. There's some great value if you see a little bit in a team. Me personally, I'll be sprinkling a little bit on Kentucky men's basketball to win it all. I think they're a good team. Great odds. Head over to BetRivers and see that. But yeah, if you're not betting on BetRivers, then you might as well just not bet. And that's the way I feel about it.
Great ad read. I appreciate that. All right, Stu, we're going to toss the baton your way to officially transition to a Go Blue with Stu portion of this episode.
There we go. I appreciate it. It's my first hybrid one. So I don't know if I like going last, but I'll take it anyways. But I wanted to talk about some Michigan stuff. I want to talk about some more of the Michigan State team. But I think my first point that I want to make is that I think Moussa Diabate made a lot of fans on Saturday. And I think a lot of Michigan State respect from that end as well. And, he was a big bright spot. I think maybe they're relying a little too much on him in certain areas, but, what was the one thing I can speak to what I thought was impressive, but what did you guys think in that arena watching and, from a Michigan fan and a Michigan State fan? What were you guys most impressed with him?
So I told Cart pregame, we had a debate on this because I told him that I thought the Diabate versus Hauser/Hall matchup was the one that I thought was the most in Michigan's favor, even just from a physicality, mentality, whatever you want standpoint. Like I was very confident that Moussa would show up in this game. He just seems like a gamer to me. He seems like he likes the bright lights and he seems like he has the talent and the skill to back it up. I thought his first half was pretty phenomenal. He played 34 minutes in this game, which it was shocking to me looking back on that, because I don't know that we've seen that all season from him, even as the rotation has trimmed a little bit. But I think especially as the game became such a just force it down low mode, like Diabate's ability to crash the offensive boards and just throw himself into plays from his physical gifts alone was very impressive when you consider that that's stacking up against a Michigan State front court that's renowned for its toughness. So, I mean, I don't recall many freshmen ever at Michigan inserting themselves into the rivalry physically like that. I'm very curious for Diabate. Like, who knows if Michigan gets him beyond this season? But if they do, God forbid, and if Hunter Dickinson's not there, like Musa at the 5 full time, I think is going to look a lot different than Musa at the 4 next to Hunter Dickinson looks. And I don't know if that's going to be good or bad or what. I just know it's going to look different. And I'd love to see what that looks like in college selfishly, because I think the kid's a freak. But Cart, you were opposite of me pregame. You were not worried about Musa. And then I think midway through the first half, you kind of looked at me like, oh shit.
Yeah, I literally actually did look at Gary like, oh shit, this dude is an absolute like monster. Like, not like people talk about like how he's an athletic monster, a freak of nature. Like, he legit is a freak of nature athlete. Like, there's so much he can do, and there's so much room for him to improve. I thought that his face-up game was a lot better than I thought. I mean, his feet and his footwork were just unbelievable. He was able to have a couple moves where he went baseline on Marcus Bingham and was able to use, avoid his length, avoid getting a shot block. If he wasn't making it, he was getting fouled. He had some good steals as well. And then he was all over the glass. I thought that out of the whole press conference that Juwan had, the one thing that stuck out to me that I did agree with was I thought that Musa could have went up with some of the offensive rebounds that he had. Just from being inside, especially because I think he needs to kind of take notice that they're not hitting shots. So you might as well just go up and, if anything, you'll get fouled, I think, or make that basket. But I think that it was just impressive what he was able to do and the energy he was able to bring, because I didn't really feel energy coming from anybody else on the Michigan team necessarily. Like, I thought Hunter was getting his and talking his shit because that's what he does. And credit to him for that, because when you do get buckets, you got to let the other team know you gave him a bucket. But I think Moose's energy, you could just feel it. Like, he was just playing extremely hard. So I came away extremely impressed with what he did.
Yeah, I think he's coming back. I kind of relate him to like Hansbrough type guy. Like, I could see him. Everyone's thinking he's going to leave, and I don't know him or what his personality is or his dreams are, or I'll leave overseas. I don't really care about college at all. Like, who knows? But he has that sort of style, and I think he has still a lot to develop. And I don't think there's too many other better places to do it than with Juwan or at Michigan, where you're already going to get some minutes and play against some of the best schools in the nation. I think him at the 5 would be very interesting. Like, Kofi's gone, right, after this year?
Mm-hmm.
Kofi's gone. I'm guessing Hunter will be gone. It doesn't matter. But like, people he would play against, I don't know if what Edey's plans are. But like, he reminds me of a big man. Like, in my era, it was like Jawan Johnson was like the tallest guy. Like, we didn't play too many big time freaks. I feel like the last couple of years, like, the Big Ten just been 7 foot after 7 footer. Like, it's a little ridiculous. And he could still do that. And if he can develop a 15 footer, there's a lot for him to do still, where he could be like an animal, like 20 and 10. But they're definitely going to keep going to him, because he is just the most aggressive player right now like collectively. I mean, Hunter's been chasing the shots, but both sides, he's been the most aggressive. That, like, they tried to start Brandon Johns this year, and I think Brandon played really well last year, but he needs more guard play around him in order to shine. Where Musa's like, I don't know, this is the basketball. It's like I always used to say, I had a buddy in high school, and he would like come back to me and report to me on like how I did, and he's like, most games you're like a golden retriever with your nose is on the ball, and this game you're just kind of lazy. And like, that is Musa. Musa's like, the ball's there, I'm just going to get it. Like, it's like a dog in a pork chop or something. Like, he doesn't care what's going on. And you need a lot of those guys. Like, you need some more cerebral guys. You need some more guys like Musa. So yeah, he's just been like, it's been like John's just kind of throwing his hands up in there and be like, all right, well, like we're going to play him now 34, 35 minutes. And this is what's going to happen. So you go get yours, because we don't know what else we're going to do. Like, we don't know where it's going to come from. And we need these guys that are just going to say, screw it. I'll just be me then.
Yeah, I think he's deserving of the minutes, at least at this point. And I promised I wouldn't say his name on the show, but I'm going to break my rule. Like, I feel very bad for Brandon Johns. Like, I know there's a good basketball player somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to find itself at Michigan at this point with the way the season's played out. I thought he was great in the tournament run for Michigan last season. So it's got to be tough, especially for him, like kind of thinking he's going to walk into that spot, and then in comes this 7-foot freak who can hit face-up jumpers and do what Moussa Diabate can do. But man, like at this point, more Moussa is needed for this Michigan team. I was surprised he got the minutes he did, but I think that bodes well for them down the stretch run as they trim the rotation. And I think, like you said, like it's one thing to have players or a player here and there who like just doesn't care about the moment. Like, it doesn't matter. He's going to sniff the ball and just go off his instincts. Like, that's special about Moussa. But he also needs to find a balance where he may not care about the moment, but at least he's aware of the moment, because there have been some times this season where like I keep thinking back to that shot at the end of the first half. I don't remember who they were playing, but he takes a long two with like 11 seconds on the shot clock and they give up a layup run out. Like, I still think there's a few too many moments per game for him right now where he just does something really stupid. And I feel like he can develop that over time. But we'll have to wait and see if it does happen.
No, it's been like the name of the game with Michigan right now. And, you know, we last week, and it's like, it's a luxury now that they've won 3 games. Well, with Michigan State, you can't just figure yourself out. So they have tests, I think like 5 of the next 12 or 11 games is against ranked teams. Like, it's going to be tough sledding because these teams are so good. And to figure stuff out like that on the fly is just, it's just a no-go. But I think the rest of this season, like it's not a defeat. Like, I think they need to still develop and work on themselves and kind of set up for next year. You have so many young guys in this team. You had Kobe and Frankie that I thought could have played more, to be honest with you. I like them a lot. I really do. Like, they might be a little smaller, like if they both play in the backcourt, but I don't think that really matters. I think you need to start really developing guys where you're going to be. And I think Moussa's in a great spot with that, where it's like, all right, we're going to feed him in the post now. We're going to let him go do his work. Now we got to figure out how to like keep adjusting with the hot and cold Caleb off and on. And I think one person I really just feel bad for, you know, one is Devontae. Another one's kind of Hunter with just the situation and him trying to come back and win. But the big one is Eli.
Yeah.
And Eli is my guy. I feel for Eli where, you know, was like the ultimate role player, quote unquote, but he could score, he could create, he can do a lot of things, but you never like view him as you never view him as that guy. So they want him to go off too much. And which like, that sucks. Like that hurts the soul when you have 18 and they're like, okay, well, you know, maybe we don't want that every game. And you're like, screw you. Like, what do you mean? I just did, like, what's wrong with me doing that? And so he's had to adjust. Like, he's too much of a team player. And I don't know how you guys view him. I don't know how the Michigan State side views him, but I mean, he's just, he should go down as one of the most important players of the last, you know, since the Beeline era started.
Yeah. I never necessarily, I just look at Eli as just a piece. Like, I think he's a great piece. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can slide him in somewhere to a lineup surrounded by a lot of talent and he'll do exactly like what he does. I'm not really sure who I would compare him to on like Michigan State team or something like that. I don't think we don't have an Eli. It's just, he kind of just does what he does. I think if you stretch it out, like Gabe Brown has a role on our team. He just is a guy who just is going to play hard, shoot, and get out and run and be athletic and do dunks. But even better for a player like Eli, at least he does a little bit of everything. He's just not necessarily great at one thing. He just does everything, kind of.
I just fear for Eli's legacy, which ultimately doesn't matter, but like, if you could have flipped the way the season went standings wise from last season to this season, like everybody remembers Eli as the consummate teammate who led the team to finally this great season in his final year. And he was unselfish and sacrificed so much to come back. And instead it's like, he still was unselfish and sacrificed so much to come back, but no one's ever going to mention it again unless this team really, really turns it around. I've compared him to Trent Frazier from Illinois, who I think I don't think Trent Frazier's in his 5th year. If I'm wrong there, someone correct me, but just sort of always been like the 4th, 5th option guy, but you feel like there could be something more certain games. And I think Frazier seems to have found his sweet spot this season. And I think having a team that has like 18 different shooters surrounding a Kofi Coburn makes it a lot easier for Trent Frazier to do that. Like there were times the last 2 seasons where I thought like Eli just looked like the perfect swing piece. Like he would take those handoffs and just kind of fly through and catch the ball on the move and find the open spot. And now it almost feels like even when he does have a good game, it's like he's forcing it just because the pieces around him are either not in the right spots or don't really make a ton of sense surrounding him to have the ball in his hands. So their numbers, like if you look at Frazier's numbers and Eli's numbers, like Eli's averaging 11, 3 and 3. Frazier's averaging 13, 3 and 3. And I think everybody would point to Trent Frazier. Brad Underwood's pointing to Frazier. Like he's the defensive player of the year. He's having this great season and nobody's really doing that for Eli, but I think he's quietly doing all the same things that made Eli Brooks special his first 4 years. It's just a shame that it seems to be going to waste.
Yeah. I don't ever trust those defensive player of the years or all first team defense. I think it's a crock. I learned that it was a crock my senior year because manager told me that like the video guys just like write in names for the coaches and the coaches just check it off like, okay. And like apparently whoever averages steals and blocks just gets on first team all defense. I'm like, nobody knows how to watch defense. It bugs the hell out of me.
Yeah, like literally the only example I use for that, James Harden is top 5 in steals every single year in the NBA. Like it doesn't equate. It does.
Like
that's not
old
how it
Iverson.
works.
Yeah, Iverson did the same thing. It was like, it's like who cares?
Like you got to watch.
Yeah. I don't know what else to talk about with this Michigan team. It is pretty much, it is what it is. We saw the game plan. They're going to stick to it. What they could do more is set up Caleb a little better. Like he needs to shoot. I said last week on the podcast, like, I hope he shoots 4 bad shots in the first 4 minutes, and he didn't do it. And he just needs to get into the game. Like if this team's going to go anywhere, like you just got to get him shots. It's still odd to me that we aren't just setting that prototypical beeline 5-3 down screen and letting those 2 rock on the side. And, you can do so much action out of it. Like even Hunter can step back out and hit a 3 now. So there's odd things like that where I don't think we're taking advantage of what we have. But, we'll see. I don't know what they're going to play for anymore. They got Nebraska, depending on when this podcast comes out. And it's going to be interesting. I think the next fans are going to be looking for is the Michigan State game. And I don't really know where to go with it from there, but I do think they have a chance. And if they go 1-on-1, it would feel pretty good. But, I really don't have much else to say. I've been like beating a dead horse with some of this team.
Stu, I do. Wait, Greg, hold on. I got a quick question. Just because we went to the post-game press conference, right? And Jawan had some pretty interesting things to say, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it. One started off, someone asked them about Marcus Bingham and kind of where he was, and Greg stopped me because I can sometimes embellish and maybe leave out a few details, but basically someone asked about Marcus Bingham, the defense he's played and his improvement over the years defensively, and like where he's at and how he did on Hunter. And Jawan answered that with what he literally did this. He made this face, said, how many Hunter have again? He had 25. Okay. And then went on to the next question.
I can't stand these fishing questions where Jawan has so much to worry about watching his own team. Like you think he's watching film of Bingham every game, being like, wow, it's really progressed. I'm writing a report, sending it over to Izzo. Like your guy Bingham's done really well. Jawan doesn't care. And he's not going to talk about, like, he's already upset you lost. Like these questions, I don't understand these questions sometimes. Like if it's like, Bingham had like 25 and 8 and 4 blocks, and like last year he was playing 5 minutes, then ask that question. But it's like, I'm sorry, Jawan's not dissecting his defense for the last 2 years. It's just stupid.
That's a good point. Yeah, he just seemed testy in the post game, which like he should be testy. They're coming off a blowout loss at the press.
Yeah, what that person asked him, Greg? He said, what's it take to win? Or what did he say? Like, you've won here, you haven't won here yet. And then he's like, oh no, I have as a player.
He was asking about the atmosphere, and
good.
just Hunter Dickinson was like talking about how he loved playing in the environment. And they were like, the atmosphere was great today. Juwan, you've played here. And yeah, he cut him off and goes, well, I won here. And everyone in the room was just like, whoa there.
Ooh, a little dig.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to do that. That's what makes the rivalry fun, right?
I think it's going to be amazing with how animated Juwan can get, and like the same with Izzo. And they'll respect each other. But I think there could be like some fun, testy moments where you never know with these guys, because like egos can get pretty fragile where like things get out of hand. But I feel like they can like talk shit to each other and be fine at the end. Like not a what's his from Maryland. I don't know his last situation. Yeah.
Turgeon.
Get him out of here. Like that was a different story. But like I think him and Izzo will be fun for a while.
Yeah, it honestly, at the end of the game, there was a situation where he was trying to get his son Steven in, and technically he couldn't come in because basically some rule about him not getting to the table fast enough. And Juwan's like, no, it's okay. Like, go ahead, let him come in. So he gave us that little thing. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. How about that at the end? I think it was, I don't know who it was. They didn't pass it out. It was like, if you're going to like, you got to give him a shot. Like, isn't that, you can't put him in and then not passing the ball. Like at least just airball something.
I don't know. I don't even know.
Michigan State's garbage time lineup is like they have 2 football players who joined the team a week ago, then 2 coaches' sons. Like they're in a spot where like they're out to get a bucket, every guy who's on the floor in that spot. So, which give Keon Coleman credit. It was a nice bucket, but
yeah, I'm interested to hear from you guys what you think the next 2 years kind of looks like. Like I think Caleb and Musa are back. You got Frankie coming in, and I think he'll be very underestimated going into next year. I imagine Hunter will be gone. But let's say surrounding Caleb and Musa, and then what does that rivalry look like next year to shape up? Like I think it could be pretty fun from like a watching pros standpoint.
100%. I mean, I think I love Michigan's core if they bring the core back, and they're not getting Dickinson back. And this has happened to other guys, like Kofi Coburn was gone all of last season until he found out he wasn't going to get drafted. And like right now, Hunter Dickinson's not going to get drafted. So if he wants to go, which he definitely wants to go, like more power to him, but who knows if there's a last minute decision there. But yeah, if you get those 4 back, Houston, Diabate, Collins, Bufkin, I have 0 concerns about Michigan next season, especially if you throw Jet Howard into that and really play
Terrence
with some
Williams
shooters.
should be good. Yeah.
Like they're going to have dudes, and they're going to have dudes who are competitive dudes going forward. Even like a Doug McDaniel, like that dude. I don't know how much tape you've seen of him, the little point guard they got coming in next year. He's feisty, dude.
He really is. He's a dog. Yeah.
So the rivalry will be in a good spot, and Michigan State should bring everybody back except who? Bingham and Gabe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no pros on that roster other than Christie, even though they're a really good college basketball team. So
yeah, no, I think the rivalry, I think especially like Greg said, you have players like Houston and Diabate who I would bet any money are going to get better. And they'll be better for it, kind of taking these lumps and bruises their freshman year. Obviously, it sucks when you're a 5-star guy and you're McDonald's All-American, you come in and you don't dominate, or not dominate, but you don't play extremely well right away. Like that's an ego kind of hit personally, but I got faith that both those guys would benefit from coming back for a sophomore year and would benefit Michigan as a basketball team. I think Hunter said it in the press conference, the last game, like, there's a lot of young guys on this team. And it's funny when he says it because like he always points at it. He's like, he doesn't want to call out the young guys, but it's obvious who the young guys are. Like, he's like, oh, there's a guys that were in high school last year that haven't exactly been that good this year. I'm like, I wonder who that could be. Maybe the freshman. I don't know. But yeah, I think they'll be good, especially if they can get Houston to be like a knockdown, just 40% 3-point shooter. I think Kobe Bufkin takes a step. He's always been one of my favorite players. And then a guy like Jet Howard, too, I think is a guy who can get buckets on the wing. So more baskets outside of the front court will open up a lot of things, especially if you have a force down low like Diabate. So credit to them.
Stu, I have 3 rapid fire questions for you. And off the heel of talking about Hunter Dickinson calling teammates out, do you think this team likes each other at all?
I do. Yeah. I think they do. I think Hunter is the most vocal. You're always going to be frustrated with your teammates that are making mistakes. And like Beeline hated freshmen because they make the most mistakes. And if I'm a guy like, if I say as my junior, senior year, we had to play like a bunch of freshmen that weren't named Trey Burke, like it would be very frustrating. So I think they like each other. They seem to like each other, but yeah, by no means is it all that fun in the locker room when you're making all those mistakes over and over and over. So it's not easy.
My hypothesis for the last month has just been that these guys hate each other, but I feel that's why I need to ask you. Like, I need someone who can actually read this shit way better than me, because I just hear clips from Hunter Dickinson, and then I see Eli Brooks look like he's ready to strangle himself in a media timeout every game.
I do not envy Eli. Like even like playing with Trey, there's so many times where you want Trey to like do something defensively, or like you got to pick up the slack because he's scoring so much. So like it can be very frustrating, and and they're losing right now. So it's even tenfold.
Yeah, that's tough. All right.
There's literally nothing worse than being on a team where you hate your teammates. Because I've been on a team before where I hated all my teammates. And on top of that, you're losing. It's hell on earth. And then you got to go to school too.
You got to like read books, like Buddhist books to get through it. Yeah. It's
God. Like you're downloading apps, headspace apps on your phone, just trying to clear your head. Just like what the hell is going on? It's awful.
Stu, you talked about just some things that we wonder why the staff isn't doing more concepts, right? Like, why aren't they doing more for Caleb Houston? Why aren't they doing more drop coverage? From the outside looking in, like there's a ton of coaching talent on the sideline at Michigan this year. I think last year, Juwan was deservedly the national coach of the year. And I think this year, if there was an award for national worst coach of the year, he would be in the running this season, legitimately, with the talent he has. Why do you think that this seems to be like a shift from year to year? Like, can we point at like just they're trying certain things because of youth, or like it totally feels to me like they've underwhelmed as a coaching staff this season? Am I crazy for that?
I think it's trying things, and then they can't try things because of youth, and like they don't have what Juwan's system. And like last year, it was pretty free flowing, and it's like, all right, you guys are going to showcase your pro talent, and it's going to be pretty free flowing. We'll put in some sets. And this year they've had to run a bunch of sets. Like first 10 games, they ran a bunch of what we would call it 5 down. You enter it to Hunter in the high post, and then you kind of got guys rotating through the wing. And then Hunter goes to one side to hand off. And they ran that a bunch of times just to like get some continuity. Like they can't put in too much stuff. Maybe he does need to put in a system where we go, okay, we got half a system. We're going to ingrain this in these guys' heads in training camp while playing a little free flowing and see how it feels. But like last 2 years, you can just kind of throw the ball up, and like the Miami Heat aren't coaching 19-year-old kids, like that system is about coaching pros who know what they're doing. And they have a lot. That's why they have Udonis Haslem still on the roster. Like they want guys who know what they're doing, and they're doing it precisely. But they're vets. So like, these coaching 18-19-year-old kids is tough, man. It's very tough. So this is a really good thing for him. Like it's much easier to learn from losing and from these bumps than it is from constantly winning and constantly getting talent rotated in and out. So it'll only make him better. And I have zero doubts that he's going to figure out how to then approach a group next season and like get it going earlier instead of later. But it's a learning process. Like, maybe like 1 out of every 20 guys could come into a situation and be like, all right, I know exactly what I'm doing with this group, even though it's like vastly different from last year's group. Like that's just not easy. It's not an easy thing to like sit there and, I do it. There's a lot of things he should be doing better, but like I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway here for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing it across the country. Like great coaches, Chris Mack is a great coach objectively, but he's out of a job at Louisville right now. And I don't think Juwan will ever be out of a job, but year over year is crazy in college basketball.
Makes me want to throw my head up against a brick wall. It's like, what's 1 year? Like appreciate talent, like appreciate talented coaches. I always say Michigan football has this problem where most schools across the country should appreciate like one good year out of maybe every 4 or 5 or 6. Like it is not easy, but you get into a point where like we demand excellence all the time. And it's like, okay, good luck with that. Then you're just keep rotating things. Then you got to redevelop a program for the 3 or 4 years until you have, I think it's stupid. And I think patience is not a virtue that you find often in any college sport.
Yeah, not in college sports anymore, at least. It's crazy. All right, my final rapid fire question. Cart's going to like this one. Caleb Houston, by all accounts, a great shooter, yet I have to think he leads the country in air balls on the season. What is up with that? You were a great shooter. You are a great shooter. Like what? I've never seen a great shooter airball so many seemingly open shots.
Oh, I've done it. I've done it plenty of times, enough to know where like you catch it, something doesn't feel right, but you still know you're going to shoot it and you let it go. Like he's not unconscious right now. That's what that's telling me. And he got bombarded with questions. God, when was it? A few games ago. I mean, the only question people could ask him after the game was like, how does it feel to have some confidence in making shots? And it's like he's just, I don't know. It just bothered me. It wasn't a nuanced question and you're just asking it over and over again. And like, it goes much deeper than that. And I hated it because he kept having to say, I'm confident. I'm always confident. And he can't be honest about what's going on in his head. And I think that perpetuates the problem. So hopefully someone's talking to like, yeah, I'm not confident, or, hey, bud, you're not confident right now. Like, it's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't need to keep sitting there tense with your shoulders up every time you shoot. So he's seen it. I think he at least saw the ball go through the hoop a bunch against IU and like got up a bunch of threes, which was nice, but he's going to continue to fluctuate. And that just means he's not shooting unconsciously and playing unconsciously. And he's just thinking too much. And like, I had that issue my entire playing career since forever. So I get it. Like it'll go up and down, but eventually he'll figure out he's too good. Like he'll realize, oh, I'm like what Franz would do last year, would yell at him. He'd be like, you're in the paint, Franz, you're taller than everyone. Just shoot it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like no one's going to block you. We don't care if you shoot 20 times. Like you're going to get in there. You're taller. You're more skilled. Eventually it's going to work out. So he'll figure that out.
I'm going to go back and review film on every Stu Douglass Michigan game, because I know for a fact that you did not airball multiple games in a row. I'm telling you, Caleb Houston averages one a game.
Probably not.
Even the IU game when he was unconscious, he airballed. Like he did.
No, I mean, I feel for him. I'll never forget. That's a funny story. We were playing in the Big Ten tournament against Illinois. I think it was my freshman year. I think his name was Trent Beach. No. It was, I don't know, some white guy, 2-guard. He annoyed the hell out of me. But I like hit a 3, swish right in his face, came down the next possession, wide open, airballed it. He was like, how did you just airball that? And I literally just said, I don't know. And kept it moving. That was the whole conversation. And it was like, if you're too open, then you're much how that stuff happens. Because then you're just, every rep you take in practice should be muscle memory. And when you start to like mess with muscle memory by thinking for a half second, like you're done. But yeah, that back-to-back games is a little different. But he's too good. Like he's too good. Honestly, if he airballs one a game for the rest of his career and shoots 45%, I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying?
True. I agree with it.
He's shooting 37% on the season, by the way, from 3. So despite the air balls, like he's already shooting on 5 attempts a game, a ridiculously good.
Well, I think people are just disappointed because like it's a beautiful jump shot. Like he should be like mid 40s in my eyes. Like he can do that. He's tall enough. The jumper is fire. Like he should just be knocking it down. It sounds easy, of course.
Look at you hold Michigan Wolverine basketball players accountable, Cart. It's good. It's good to see.
Someone's got to do it. Damn it! If it's got to be me, I'll do it.
By the way, Stu, Trent Meacham. It was Trent Meacham, by the way. Okay. I think he's a Big Ten Network analyst now, and he wears turtlenecks 80% of the time he's on camera.
Oh, so, like brain action. Interesting. I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, just worth noting. If you ever flip on Big Ten Network, look for the boy in the turtleneck. All right. This was a really fun episode. Crossover, Go Blue with Stu and Unscripted, both on the field of 68, presented by BetRivers. Stu, I appreciate you making the time for this. And we're going to have to link up the next time we're in Indy, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate you guys. This is a lot of fun. And yeah, you guys are doing anything. I'm always here.
Hey, always fun, always welcome. And to answer that sign behind you, are you stupid? Are you dumb? I'm both, but I'm also a winner. Let's not forget. Go green, go white, all that nonsense.
So moronic as well. Okay.
Oh, touche. But a winning moron.
Well, winning moron is good.